Hi, I'm Sharon Renfro. Our Hearts and Minds at SharonRenfro.com believes that we must open our minds before we can open our hearts to one another, a fundamental idea to an alternative way to understand the psychology of relationships. This means that thinking is the key to successful, meaningfully connected relationships. Today's video applies the 3 steps of thinking to the relationship issues of why unhappy relationships get worse. Now, I'm going to talk about the 3 steps of thinking very briefly, and then I'm going to make a list of items that I consider to be important to those 3 steps of thinking to give you an example of what I mean. The first step of thinking is research. That means the gathering of pertinent and objective information. Number 1. Each person in a relationship must constantly balance his or her need to be an individual and the need to be in a relationship. Number 2, the first level of assessment about the state of this balance, the safety of the individual in the relationship, happens all the time about every situation in the relationship. Number 3, the first assessment uses the emotional system, the instinctual automatic assessment system that produces one of 2 emotions, calm when safe and anxiety when threatened. Number 4, we begin to learn to use this assessment system when we take our first breath at birth, and we continue throughout our lifetime to use what we learn in those early years. This learning takes place before we're able to use reason and logic and empathy. Number 5, the focus of the assessment is on the safety of the individual with no concern for or about the relationship partner. The focus is on me, me, me. 6, 3 different brain systems compose the psychological component of self and provide adaptive strategies meant to be used as the complexity of our life increases as we age. However, infants must begin life with only the emotional system to negotiate individual safety in relationships. In fact, whether or not an infant survives and/or thrives depends on his or her use of emotional reactions and the emotional maturity of his or her parents. Number 7, at the time more complex brain functions come online, the individual must be aware that more complex responses need to be learned to be able to access our most adaptive strategies. Number 8, conventional psychology has advocated strongly that we should use our gut and our feelings to be successful in relationships. But in fact, this means that we use the simplest adaptive strategies in the most complex circumstances. We use conflict, fight, distance, flight, pretend, camouflage, and cutoff, play dead, directed at our relationship partner when it would be more advantageous to think. Step 2 of thinking is reason, the application of logic to the objective and pertinent information we have gathered to increase and deepen our understanding of ourself and relationship process. Number 1, as long as we use the emotional system to try to solve problems, our problems will get worse. A, conflict, distance, pretend, and cutoff are all short-term remedies to simply restore the balance of the need to be an individual and the need to be in a relationship, and give the impression of resolution of problems when such resolution has not been reached. B, these behaviors create a short-term reduction in anxiety, which is misinterpreted as problem solving. So while we become calmer, our unresolved problems get bigger and bigger and bigger. C, the emotional system is meant to secure the safety of the individual alone. The lack of consideration of one's relationship partner will not result in the identification of or remedy of a problem. D, these emotional behaviors are directed at our relationship partners based on the perception that the relationship partner is the threat. Such a narrow and inaccurate focus will not promote improvement in a relationship. Accepting the folly of conventional psychology can allow us to increase self-awareness and explore alternative explanations, which also provide us new, effective strategies that allow us to address the real issues. 3. As we learn to use the emotional system very early in life, we are using tools that a child would use in an adult relationship. 4. Instead of seeing the process we use as flawed, we believe that the relationship is not working. We therefore focus our life energy toward the wrong resolution, and then we wonder why things get worse. No matter what other communication skills we learn and use, if we have a fundamentally inaccurate understanding, we cannot affect or address the real issues. Step 3 in thinking, reflection. That's being able to see the big picture and how all the component parts work together to create our circumstances. It also includes being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Number 1, we must stop behaving as if our relationship partner poses a threat to us. Number 2, we must let go of conventional psychology. Stop seeing ourselves as an ego and embrace a new alternative, accurate explanation of who we are and what we do. We should expect this to take some time and life energy and expect change to be a gradual process. Number 3, work toward goals you want to achieve. What does it mean for your relationship partner for the relationship to be better? How can you be certain that our anxiety has anything to do with your relationship? Number 4, make a map of all the component parts of a situation and describe how the components related to each other in a way that the circumstances could have come to be what those are. How could change in each component impact the whole, and vice versa? See the system as fluid and dynamic. We must open our minds before we can open our hearts to one another. If these ideas have been beneficial to you, please like us and help others to find us. Also, you may find more information and in-depth discussion about these ideas in our free podcast at SharonRenfro.com. And thank you for listening.